Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulil Kareem. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another episode of Talk to Me. Welcome to the live audience guests here and also to the viewers at home watching. Today's episode, we are going to discuss a question which is probably connected to yourself or your children with the new phenomena of social media. Have social media influencers replaced Muslim scholars? That's the question. Can they indeed replace Muslim scholars, if it's at all possible? With our a variety of guests here, inshallah ta'ala, we'll explore this question and see what kind of direction this debate goes. Because it is quite tricky and it is a real clash between the modern day methods and the traditional methods. And indeed, is there a middle way to meet? I open the floor here, inshallah ta'ala, with the brother here to start with his comments, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. So a part of what I'm a co-founder of an Islamic education brand called Ramadan Legacy, and a part of what we do is try to make our products hyper relevant to our customers, inshallah. And part of that is asking them, building a profile of the general kind of customers that we have and the people,
I want the question.
Yeah.
Can they replace Muslim scholars?
So I was yeah. So no,
got a good plug for your company there, but
yeah.
keep
Shameless
going,
plug number one. But no, the point I was getting to was the fact that we go through a process of trying to figure out who do they listen to, right?
Right.
And one of the I don't know whether I can mention the name, but asking whether they listen to ulama, whether they listen to du'at, like our brother Ali Dawa. But what we realize is that they look up to people who have a very soft selling of Islam, right? People who may be fashionistas, influencers basically, and try to understand, their da'wah seems to be very effective for the average person, right?
For the average youth person.
Average youth, yeah. We're talking about millennials, we're talking about Gen Zs, and those younger than them. So it's unavoidable the fact that these individuals will have a very profound effect and very profound kind of impact in terms of the deen for our young people. So
there's a positive element
yes,
to this here.
However, subhanAllah, these individuals that have no idea about the basic shurut, basic kind of masail of Islam, basic
issues and conditions.
Exactly. They don't have the basic kind of grounding of Islam. They're dealing with very often complex issues, right? And I've seen subhanAllah, and they've been sponsored to discuss these issues. We're talking about people who just know about fashion, right? And even those individuals, they seem to be losing the elements which initially got them the following. We're talking about losing the hijab, losing the Muslim identity, which and for somehow they've still clung on to the idea of being a Muslim influencer. So in a way,
even their journey, they've kind of like drifted off.
They've drifted off, and I've seen this time and time again over the past kind of 5-6 years. SubhanAllah, we've seen this progression. I'm sure brothers and sisters here can resonate with that. So the issue I'd like to ask my brothers and sisters is how can we make sure that
I ask the questions here. Yeah, no problem. I ask the questions here. Inshallah.
These influencers. We try to keep them on path, and subhanAllah, like our brother Ali Dawa, mashallah, he stays in touch with the ulama. How can we get these individuals to be guided rightly?
Got in the right, no problem. So what I could take from that basically is that the situation is where we can attract people to Islam using some of these methods. Yeah, okay. My question here, which I'm going back to my question, is have these social media influencers replaced the ulama? That's my question. Yes, brother, over there.
So in regards to whether they've replaced them or not, it's very difficult to give a straight answer to that. But I think what needs to be done is that give the platform to the ulama to reach out to the next generation. So dawah has...
But that's what they do. A lot of them do that now. Most influencers who are... Because we're looking at like in the best of both worlds. So you have an ulama who's tech savvy, who's social media savvy, right? And we have a lot of those in the Middle East, for example.
Yeah, so in the Middle East, is kind of different in terms of the platforms that they're using compared to what we're going
Twitter,
through here
predominantly,
in the UK, right? But over here, so for example, I'm coming from an ilm feed perspective. So this
that's another plug. Yep, keep going.
Yeah, it's got to be done, right? But alhamdulillah, what we've said and what we've done, one of our principles is to give the platform, because it's got such a big following, to get ulama on there,
right?
For them to get exposure to the mass, and for those people, the layman or anyone who's viewing it, to understand who they can get the real knowledge from, compared to these influencers who might have a separate agenda. They might come in sincerely, right, and want to make change, and then they get caught up. There's some who couldn't make it in the mainstream and use Islam as a way to gain the following and the likes, and then when they've got enough likes and follows, then they move away. So it's about trying to get the balance. So in terms of ulama, or even people of knowledge, it's really important that they get the platform and they get the recognition for the work they've done. But they've also got to be understanding of how this technology works, because a lot of them feel initially, social media, Facebook is haram, right? And
I don't think most of them say that now.
not anymore. But again, so what happened? It's evolved because
It's called the famous Facebook was fitna book, right?
fitna book, right? So I remember those days that if you're on Facebook, then you know what, you're sinful.
Yeah.
Whereas now a lot of Muslim organizations, ulama, I think is recognized that we
As
need
a
to be on these
platform to
platforms.
reach people. Yeah.
Definitely. So in terms of replacing ulama, I don't think they have. However, they are having a lot of influence, especially to our younger generation, that needs to be dealt with.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khair for your comment. Yes, sister over here on the left-hand side. Yeah.
What it is that as I said before, everything is being brought towards this. The society is more about now and then trying to put your effort in, or trying to wait or be patient. And people want answers straight away. And all these changes, technology and everything that's increasing in the last 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
Has led people to want their answers straight away. They will look up Google, or they'll go here and there.
Yeah, that's another problem. Yeah.
And sometimes, although sometimes it can help, there's a positive in everything that can be if done at a balance.
What about the quality of these social media influencers? I mean, you're not really, I'm sure none of you are really actually comparing a scholar, somebody who spent 10, 20 years studying Islamic sciences, compared to somebody who just, decided to do some really cool videos in a jokey fashion, covered some topical topics and became quite prominent in their social media platforms. You're not comparing the two, are you? Or do you see them like one helps the other, or how would it fit together? Raza, and then I'll come back to you, sister. Okay, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. I think the advent of social media and mass media has kind of leveled the playing field for both scholars and for scholars and for entertainers or social media influencers.
Leveled what playing field, though?
In terms of reaching an audience.
Right.
Because
everybody can access. They can access everybody.
Absolutely. And it's no longer now waiting for the audience to come to you. You can be in front of them with paid social media, with viral marketing, with nifty little techniques and tricks. You can get yourself in front of a much larger audience than you would have been able to if you were just sitting in your mosque doing your weekly circle. So I think in some ways it's become easier to reach a mass Muslim population than it would have been a generation or two ago.
I think the whole technology issue has always been, when any new technologies come, the ulama body have always been reluctant. I mean, whether it was the radio, there was a time when they used to be very much against the radio. There's where his voice coming from, and the television, etc., etc. And as time goes on, people, or the ulama, or as things become more and more clearer, use these platforms to outreach to people. But my question here is that what are the dangers? So we got these social media influencers who are neither really competent necessarily in a particular field. They may have some sense of good presentation and speaking skills. But what about the material that's being produced? What vetting process is there that you know that person or you are getting just because somebody's wearing a nice hijab and she's talking about how I'm so good at advising you and telling you how to solve all your problems, and there's a brother telling you, yeah man, so much fitna out there, this is how to be strong and whatever. It's just like a free-for-all kind of market, man. Yes, Ali Dawa aptly jumps in. Yes.
Yeah, I think what's happened is
take the mic, please. Yeah. He's too used to being wired up, you see, this time.
Yeah. I'm not used to this kind of stuff. So basically, I think what's happened is that, like me myself as an influencer, my job is like I don't deem myself to be a scholar. Neither I make that very clear. I'm not. And
you make that in your videos.
I have to, because the thing is, it's I think it's a very dangerous place to go.
Yeah.
But we live in very superficial times. Fast cars, fast food, fast hand dryers.
Everything.
Something.
Yeah.
I don't mention it. Prime.
Fast influencers.
Everything is fast. Everything is fast. Yeah, exactly. So the thing is that with me it's dangerous, because at the end of the day I'm not a scholar, and I don't want to come across like that.
Mm-hmm.
But because of that, we live in a superficial time. Everyone's looking at people who have these like followers,
Yeah.
and they're
That's how you're measured, aren't you?
they're taking advantage of this. This is the issue. You know, they're taking advantage of their platform, and just because they look the part, they be their clothing or just say yani a few times and bid'ah, shirk, mubtadi, kafir, kafir, kafir. And all of a sudden you're a scholar. And sadly, we implement this in our day-to-day lives. You know, we become very superficial. So anyone that looks the part, but the thing is,
But isn't the influencers
well, yeah.
exploiting?
Well, yeah, of course they are. And then what happens is like usually what is this like Islamic content? So the youth, the youngsters, what they're looking for is how can I be a Muslim and you know, be cool? Yeah, exactly. So the thing is, what happens is people take advantage of that. They're like, okay, there's a gap in the market. So you'll see people who are in the music industry who flopped. They'll think, you know what, I flopped there, but the music market, I'll go there, add a bit of beatboxing, and then slowly turn into music. Yeah. And it happens. You know, we start with Islamic videos, and as subscribers increase, Islamic videos decrease.
Yeah, and you
you've
start to
seen
go into
that.
the
And
mainstream. There's a
that's why I
famous
believe-
case of it that I think
exactly,
most of you
we're
are
being
aware of, yeah.
hijacked. And with the scholars now, the thing is, I partially blame them in the context of they're doing a beautiful job, but the issue is that it's very like, you know, like the only person that comes to my mind is Mufti Menk, because he's somebody that looks like a scholar, but the guy's so cool.
Yeah.
And people love him. Like he's not judgmental.
A massive following.
Exactly.
Right? It's like one of the top
Exactly. But
influencers in the world.
Exactly. So why is that happening? Because the guy is cool. People are looking and thinking, oh, so you can have a beard and a phobe and jump out the plane. You know,
Yeah.
and go and
Go
do
to
all
Turkey
kinds
for
of
a
stuff.
holiday, whatever,
So
yeah.
the thing is, people are looking for that. And in my field, what I do, I just try to tell people, look, I like to have fun. I like to go out. Like, look, my videos are mainly, some people say I clickbait a lot, etc.
Yeah.
But the point is, it's a way of getting them on board. You know,
Get
in a
them on
halal
board
way
to
without
what,
lying.
Ali? That's the question.
Well, that's
What?
the thing to
Yeah.
Deen. Like, for example, when I do clickbaits, my clickbaits are not lie. I don't lie. Yeah. If I do a clickbait, I do it. Why? Just to draw them in. You know, and then just to drop a little Quran ayah in there. You know.
Yeah.
Now the scholars should do this, but the thing is, the people are sadly put off. You know, some people, is it Molvi Sahab? I don't know what Asian people say. Yeah. You know, there's this whole, there's this demeanor that they have that people have been put off.
Yeah.
So our job is to cater for that because there's a market for it. Either we're going to do it the right way because we have another extreme, which are people who are taking advantage of them, be it hijab, fashion, etc. And then once they've reached a certain limit, etc., for some reason, hijab's coming off. We don't know why. We're not going to question the intentions, but there's a pattern. And you see a lot of brothers who in the YouTube scene, all of a sudden, clubbing, girls, etc. They all start off somewhere. And then we have another extreme, which is our scholars. Our scholars, they're just too busy. Everything is haram. Not all, but, it is haram. You can't do that. Facebook, you can't use Facebook, etc. So they're thinking, okay, which extreme do I go to? Should I go here where everything's haram? Or should I go here where everything's halal? So we're just trying to fine tune both sides to a middle ground where we can say, look, I'm a practicing Muslim. These are videos. Yes, I do videos that are deen related, but when it's time to have fun, I have fun.
So you kind of like are stressing to know your limits, really, basically.
We try our best to. It's very hard. We're trying to fine tune. We're not perfect, but it's hard. And I believe this is why our youngsters and youth are confused.
They're
confused.
It's a great responsibility on people like yourself,
Yes,
right?
yes,
You do affect people. People do watch your videos, and there's a great responsibility on the shows. We had a guy here, I think maybe 2 weeks ago, he came inside here and took shahada here in our offices here.
Wow.
He predominantly got his dawah through Twitter. That was his dawah.
MashaAllah, that's
So, and I think that the social platforms should be used in the right way. Our only risk, one of the dangers which I just said, is if somebody chooses to advertise their entire life and their spiritual journey publicly.
That's the problem.
That's
because
the
a lot of
problem.
people go through a phase, and what they do is they go through a phase and they take everybody on that journey with them.
Yeah.
And then they realize, oh, actually, I was wrong. And the social media is giving platform to people that are not qualified.
Yeah.
Know your limits. Me, I say to them, look, I'm not here to give fatwa. This is not. But they ask me questions. That's not my place.
Isn't this a case of having one of the signs of the Day of Judgment, where the world would have many speakers with very little knowledge?
Yes, exactly.
Every Tom, Dick, and Harry has an Instagram, YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
They're doing their own thing,
Yeah,
whether
yeah.
it's the sound stuff or making.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's like that. It's not easy. I was speaking to one brother. He wanted to speak to me, and he said to me, he goes, I believe you're amongst those people who have been given a platform. Like, you're basically, you call people to the fire, basically, yeah? So you get people like that. Well, he said it blatantly to my face. I said, okay, first, it's haram for you to even get that hadith and implement on a specific individual, which if you're a person of knowledge, you should have known that yourself. But the issue is, what he doesn't understand is that he's thinking that it has to be like, Quran and Sunnah, which is, we understand, but his method of Quran and Sunnah, and we're saying, look, the youngsters, they're on something else, bro. You're talking about salat, put your hand here. He's committing zina.
Hmm.
What on earth are you talking about? They
Yeah.
live in different planets.
To disconnect between the reality and some of the ulama. The issue here I just wanted to flag up was the I lost my chain of thought there, was the one on here we go, yep, was the issue, right. So if people choose to map their life publicly, and when they have a fall that we've seen quite a few now on social media, a big fall happens and it impacts on people. Who should be vetting this process? Who should be there from the scholars? Should there be a body of Muslims that monitor and police what people are doing, etc., etc.? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so it sounds like you want some sort of HMC approval for those who...
Yeah, HMC
right?
approval. If you're going to give da'wah, HMC stamp.
I think if you look at in the time of Umar bin Khattab radiyallahu anhu, he basically implemented in the marketplace that before they can start business, right, before they could put a stall out, they used to go to the masjid and learn about the fiqh of business, right? And once they did that, they were allowed to go and trade. And while they were trading, there was someone overseeing them, because if they were out of line, he used to get them whipped back into making sure that they trade properly in the halal
But you can't
way.
do that now. Yeah.
Unfortunately, you can't do that now. But also, I think it's had an effect on social media, because like it's a platform where anyone and everyone can go on and literally put on a fake persona and attract the mass. So, for example, someone can easily just put on the phobe, grow their beard for a couple of weeks, and start speaking a few Arabic lyrics, and they'll start gaining momentum and getting a following, and they'll be able to say whatever that, and it will appeal to the youngsters because they don't know better, and because there's no vetting process in place, you won't be able to do anything about it.
Okay. So doesn't this, sister, I'm going to come to you. I'll take your comment and then I'll make my point in a minute. Go ahead, sister. Yep.
I think we need to distinguish between giving a fatwa and giving advice. I mean, anybody who...
But even advice is a responsibility, isn't it?
It is, but we do it on our day-to-day lives as well. If we interact with people, we are supposed to obviously advise somebody if we see somebody doing something wrong. If you're on a social media platform, to some extent, you should be able to do that, but it's difficult to draw the line. Where do you say that I'm not equipped to say anything about it, and where can I just say, you know what, you should be smiling, you should be respecting your parents? These are basic things that anybody could basically give advice about, but I think it's difficult to draw the line where people who have gained quite a bit of a following, where they need to say like, okay, I need to step down and let somebody who's actually studied this talk about it.
Do you think this is a dangerous game of changing intentions? Especially when they start to monetize their followers and start to make money from
It's
their
always
YouTube
about
channel.
intentions. Even on the day of judgment, we're going to be judged based on our intentions. If you start your Instagram to gain followers and to exploit the people, then you're going to be judged on that. And obviously Allah will give you success, and then that is one of the tests as well. If you gain that following and you end up actually mistreating these people, then you're going to get basically what you deserve in the end.
Can I ask how many of you actually, because I mean, this has all become very robotic to me. I mean, I'm getting this impression that, you know, I want a fatwa, I'm going to Google it, right? Somebody mentioned Google before, I'm going to Google it, get the answer. Then, you know, I don't really need to ask anybody. Isn't this losing that golden chain of narration that our Islam has been so special about, by having interaction from human to human? You learn from human to human. You talk to somebody. I mean, how many of you actually have a relationship with scholarly people, if I can have a show of hands, who actually has a contact with an alim or a go-to person or a scholar? I have a problem in my life. This is my hotline. Okay, right. There's some of you don't, right? So your other point of call, for you, those of you who don't, for example, if you have an Islamic issue, what do you do? Dial 999, what do you do? Google it, right? He's doing it now almost virtually. There you go. Yeah. Go ahead, sister. Yeah.
Sorry, well, you ask people who know people who know people. And then obviously, ideally...
Okay, so you're not using the social media platform here to acquire Islamic knowledge. Are you going to ask people
I will
directly,
ask somebody who knows somebody who's knowledgeable enough. And then obviously, it's ideal to ask more than one person to get different opinions.
I mean, your Islam is a very personal thing, right? A person grows Islamically. And for you to get fatwas which are relevant to you, surely the person has to understand you. This whole kind of, you know, log in and copy and paste a fatwa is a very dangerous game that I think happens a lot in this day and age. Yes, brother. Yeah. You look quite young. Do you use social media a lot?
I actually would say I'm more of a content creator for YouTube, so I've actually don't really use social media itself. But,
you create content on YouTube?
create content and
Islamic content?
Islamic content, yeah. So
Mike, close your mouth, please, so we can hear you. Yeah, thank you.
I'll go over here. Yeah, so roughly for the past 8 years or so, I've been managing and creating Islamic content and disseminating that.
Okay.
And I think with regards to sources of information, one very interesting shift I've seen is that when people they want to seek an answer to some kind of question,
Mm-hmm.
first they'll search it, but the problem is whether the source they get it from is a scholarly online source. There are some very good sources where scholars answer questions and publish fatwas.
Yeah.
But also there's places like Quora or Stack Exchange where anyone can answer.
And anyone can, yeah.
And they don't necessarily have to be a scholar.
Right.
Someone asks an Islamic question and you don't
That's
know
dangerous,
if it's
right?
scholar or not. Yeah, and since they're all equivalently ranked on a search,
Yeah.
you actually have to be informed enough to know whether you're going from a scholarly source or whether you're just going from and anyone can respond with anything in their
Any kind
opinion
of question.
source.
Yeah. Thanks very much. No problem, inshallah. One of the sisters had a comment here. Yeah, go ahead, sister. Yeah, then I'll come to you later. Yeah.
Just from the previous issues, I think, subhanAllah, there's so many thoughts going through my mind with this topic is, I don't know, quote Spider-Man, but with great power, subhanAllah, comes great responsibility. And
Lots of Marvel characters and stuff. That we're not just Spider-Man. Yeah.
I see like YouTube and the social, it's like this untamed wild beast that honestly you just have to rely on what you see as genuine people like Brother Ali Dawa, Muhammad Hijab. There's lots of, mashallah, recent new people coming on that you can feel like you can trust, subhanAllah. And I think generally it's up to us. There's no accountability for people who come online. There's no filtering system. You're left to your own faculties, and you literally have to just see, is this for me? Does this look suitable? Does this person have an agenda? Which I think is difficult at times to see.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with you. It's dangerous waters to tread in, and you've got to have some sort of roots before you start delving into this and start taking your deen from anybody on the internet. Really, yes, sister. Take a comment from you. Yep, sorry.
But actually, trying to source this advice that you're trying to find is actually probably the most important thing you should be doing. Like, I don't even,
So what do you do when you want to find an Islamic answer for something?
I do know some
Scholars?
Yeah, and I go to them, or I would ask at a better masjid than my local masjid as well. Ask the imam there if I needed advice on that. But like one of the sisters says, yes, we do need to ask around a lot. I would never use.
But does social media play a part in your life? I mean, don't you just
not at all.
flick through those little Instagram clips and those little spiritual talks? Just
I don't
post
do
you
it.
up for about 5 minutes, yeah?
No, don't do any of it at all. No.
Who spends a lot of time on social media here? That's a good question. Yeah. I'm looking to know like who's. I think you know yourself if you're spending too much time on social media. I mean, is it like that itch that you have to take it out every 15, 20 minutes? I mean, there's some crazy stats that come out, right, these days. People like, almost, their necks are bent like this now, almost because they're just absorbed on their mobile phones. But a high amount of time, like if some people have a routine before they go to bed, spend about a good 45 minutes going, catching up on their Insta, going through their face. Who does that kind of stuff? Or who has a part in their life? I mean, that's part of your business, right? That you have a chunk that you spend on social media. You dedicate a part of your day on social media. Okay. Reza, let's see. What do you do in that time, and how does it impact you? I mean, is that your kind of Friday khutbah equivalent?
Primarily,
why you do it? You just can't. Friday's just not enough. I need more, man. Yeah.
No, it's primarily for news. I use social media just to gather news, international news, politics, and sometimes, yes, I do follow social media influencers who do provide Islamic advice, nasiha, all the rest of it. But it's not the go-to and end-all of all advice.
Right.
It's just another outlet, but primarily for news.
Okay. Yes, sister, go ahead with your comment, inshallah. Yeah.
Yeah, hi. Well, basically, there was a time that I was addicted to going onto like Facebook.
Not anymore.
Thank God, no, not anymore. Not so much now, but it was like part of like going onto it all the time, and there'll be people arguing or discussing
Forums, and
religion, and not with people who believed and not believed, and you have to put a stop to yourself to be able to keep yourself away from such things and only do what is beneficial. There have been times that I've searched up answers of things, looking at different what is said from different parts, what other people say. I discuss it with my people that I know, or I do istikhara, or the things that I can do to help myself, because sometimes people aren't available. That you can go to all the time, or we have with but trying to go just take one point or one area and then believing into that, I think that could be dangerous because, as you said earlier, you have many reasons of why something could happen. Because a person needs to know your background, your reasoning, what's happening, what's not, in order to be able to give the sound advice.
Do you feel that there should be a program to encourage scholars to use social media platforms? Do you think that there should be an orchestrated campaign for this dissemination of knowledge to be done from authentic sources? I'll take your comment, please. Yeah, I've got not much time. I've got about a minute. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. I think there needs to be some sort of training and development for the shuyukh, for the people of knowledge, to know and understand what social media is, how they can utilize it, and the benefits to the community. It's all well and good if they were to do something in a small dars, but if they're able to get a bigger outreach and send the right message to the people, I think it benefits everyone. So most definitely that needs to be done.
Should be really encouraged. Yeah, you had a comment there?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention there's a model where in some ulama they have their students of knowledge, their students to actually take care of their social media platforms.
Brilliant. And
they're the ones who do the content creation and everything, and
then they put it out there. No problem. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching. We'll be back with part 2 and continue this topic of social media influencers versus scholars. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wassalamu ala Rasul Kareem. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to part 2 of our episode dealing with social media influences, scholarly versus scholars, or have they replaced the scholars, and how does it affect Muslims these days? I'm going to turn over to the sisters a little bit more because I think the fashionista kind of level of following, I mean, even in the Middle East, I mean, millions of followers over one particular sister, for example, with her hijab styles and makeup styles. I mean, surely it affects you in some way. You're not all immune to it. How does it affect you? I mean, you might have a little peep there. Oh yeah, that's a good little idea. You know what I mean? It must hit you somewhere. Yeah, go on.
I think it's just down to the individual to know the limit and not let it affect you.
But it's a limitless society now. Shame, parameters for shame, to have any kind of sense of shame is gone.
Yeah, but we can't stop the whole of society. We can just work on ourselves, really, and hopefully have a ripple effect outwards. And especially as parents, have a huge responsibility to curb our kids.
Do you have a child that uses social media?
Yeah, both of them.
And how do you control it? I mean, that size says it all, really.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It's a daily battle, but I put my foot down.
What's your foot down mean?
I just tell them that they're not
wireless goes off?
Yeah, they just...
No, do you switch off the wireless?
Yeah, everything. Take the phones off them, whatever, if they don't...
Wi-Fi, yes. Yeah, the Wi-Fi.
You've got to do what you can, really.
Right.
And don't let it control you. You control it.
Traditionally, the parents are the original influences, right? They were the original influences, and the whole concept where Islam, you nurture yourself from being grateful to your parents, and you become grateful to Allah. You learn all of these emotions through your parents. You're out the equation. We're out the equation, right?
But it's down to us to put ourselves back into it.
And how do you do that?
Nobody's going to change that apart from us as individuals.
And how do you do that, though? You just take away the phone?
I just do it.
You discuss it?
Yeah, I discuss it. I be strict when I need to. I'm open with them, speak to them, explain things. And alhamdulillah, they understand. But it's not just social media. They've got influences from everywhere, left, right.
But surely social media is probably more prominent than anything, really.
No, because I have control over that. I give them the devices,
you think you have
or
control?
I don't. Well,
Inshallah. Inshallah.
Yeah.
Ms. Anjum, you're a school teacher. You've got school experience. You've been dealing with primary children. Mobile phones are creeping to a lower and lower age group. You're in a year 5 kids. Oh, man, am I going to get my iPhone? Have you experienced this, and have you seen children have these external influences having an impact on their mindset?
Yes, it was just last week when we had NSPCC visiting our school. And
NSPCC are?
NSPCC? Yeah, that come to, yeah. And what happened?
Now, who are they? Sorry, I want to know who they are because people might think it's some sort of, car
No, NSPCC are the ones who the child, yes, for the child protection. Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
And when they gave the talk, they said that you can dial this number, and what our children did.
They were dialing it.
No, they went to the toilet straight away, and a group, they started dialing the number.
To say what?
just just for the sake of it, not to say anything. And then it had become a talk of this, and people normally wouldn't have done that, but they did it.
So you could see the impact is coming on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, go ahead, sister. Yeah.
Coming from a youth offending point of view, I'm currently working on a case with a vulnerable child, looked after child. He's been
Age?
He's 13, I think.
Okay.
14. He's been exposed to a lot on social media, so I do think it does play a role in young children.
Exposed to what? Like Islamic teaching? He's really like praying 5 times a day? What's wrong with
stuff,
it?
basically.
Right, okay. Exposure to...
played a role in his life where he feels like, where he's behaved inappropriately towards young girls as well in school, which has led to him committing an offence.
Right.
So I do think that it does play a role, especially young children. Going back to what the sister was saying, taking phones away from children, they can react negatively to that as well.
Yes.
And I think it's important that we give like da'wah to them, explaining to them like the pros and cons. Also, like the schools play a big role as well. We look at it holistically. Like we work with schools, local authority, everyone. So I think it's... Yeah, I forgot what I was going to say now.
No, it's okay. No. It's something that's you're going to have to address, right, really, because it's creeping in more and more into a younger age group. I mean, I'll kind of come to you in a second, sister, and then to you, brother, as well. The issue here is, the government's pumped in a lot of money to monitor electronic movement of information, right? Whether it's Facebook, Instagram, on the name of anti-radicalization, right? So, and you have cases where, oh, he was such a nice boy, he used to pray with us, oh, he was so good, oh, she was so good. And she books a ticket, or, he commits a crime or something. They were influenced somehow. We can't play down the impact of social media, whether they're individuals or whether it's the social media movement upon these individuals. Surely there must be an impact, right? Go ahead.
Right. So obviously for children, I think it's a bit different because they can't be held accountable for everything they do. But for adults and people in adolescence, obviously we have the responsibility to limit ourselves to some extent. So social media should not, generally speaking, be looked at in a bad way, because it can be used for good and for bad. Allah has given us many different sources and means to use, such as our eyes. We can look at good things and look at bad things. We have our mouth. We can speak good things and we can speak bad things. In the end, we are held accountable for our own actions. For children, it's obviously different because they are still in a learning process, and social media is one very big influence that has an impact on how they develop, but so are the people around them. So obviously parents need to do their part to educate the children, to tell them how they should basically use social media for good and for bad.
Halida, how do you keep yourself in check? You get popular, shaitan creeps up to you, makes a little whisper in the right ear, switches to the left ear, maybe click on the wrong thing. How do you keep yourself in check?
Well, obviously, like I believe there's a lot of brothers out there who are doing brilliant work. Like Mohammed Hijab, mashallah, is someone that I really look up to, a close friend of mine. And with us, it's dangerous because at the end of the day, it's our intentions one day for us, one day against us. There's times where we would sometimes if I'm gonna film a video, and I'm like, okay, I need to go get a haircut. I have to ask myself, why am I going to get a haircut? Like, I'm being honest. I say, okay, why am I going to get a haircut? What's the purpose?
Exactly why I didn't do one today.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's very important. And alhamdulillah, we have, like me personally, I'm blessed to have my teachers that keep me in check.
Right.
If there's a certain video I'm going to do, no, you're not doing that. Actually, it's not even your place to do that. So I'm kind of put in place, because I've got my teachers that keep an eye on me. And people that don't have that blessing, sadly, what happens is you don't have no one that's going to keep you in check. And what happens is you're the only person that you have. Now, if you don't have the Islamic knowledge behind you, you think you're doing something right, which is wrong. Do you get it? Even it could be even just someone just exposing their sins, not realizing, So the thing is, I think there's needed for people like, Brother Mohammed Hijab, people like him, they can connect to the youngsters. It's someone that's involved in MMA, etc. And together, like I try to implement that as well, to get stop being lazy, go, like if I'm going boxing, etc. Or if I'm just going on holiday, I just tell people, look, I'm not a robot. I do have fun as well, but when it's time to pray, I pray. Don't get it conflated. Why does it have to be one other extreme? So there's people like that needed, because as parents, what are you going to do? You have people who are taking advantage of the youth, taking them for a ride, be it someone who's extremely religious. Well, no, actually, that's actually wrong to say that. They deem themselves extremely religious, but they're calling people to travel to another country and join a terrorist group, And then, for example, you have the other extreme who are like, yeah, everything's halal, girlfriend, smoking, weed, do whatever you like.
Just the
it's okay.
tawbah,
So you need people like, I'll say like Brother Muhammad Hijab and people like him who can keep a balance, who are being checked by scholars. And they're just trying to show the youngsters that, you know what, look, this is what we do. We pray, etc. We do dawah. But also, for example, when it's time to have fun, we have a look, you know, we do this and this, etc. So we need people like that, because otherwise you have scholars who are very religious and they look the part religiously,
but they don't show the fun element.
They don't show it, and it's just like, oh, so I have to be boring like him. Oh, I'm going to be, you know, like him. It's very fun, but everything's haram. Halal, everything's halal. One says, you know, everything's haram. One says everything's halal.
You're trying to find
we need to fine tune it, and I think we need more people who are, you know, inshallah, it's
brave enough to do it.
Yeah, it is, but we need more people like that to come out and do that and be a good role model, you know, inshallah.
Gentleman next to you is itching to say something. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you.
So I think to follow on to the point that Brother Ali is saying about the scholars needing to engage the youth, one thing I have seen a trend over the past 10 years from the behind-the-scene viewership analytics also, is that over time, I can't help but wonder if it's the effects of social media in general as a whole, but the duration or watch time of any kind of Islamic video has shifted. It's becoming shorter and shorter. And I think the scholars do need to update the methods of their, however they deliver their Islamic information.
But shouldn't we adjust? I think gone are the days of people reading books, right?
Well, yeah.
6 minutes, man. Someone wants a little nice little boost, Iman booster, bit of Nasheed bopped into the background, and then they feel good, they have a good night's sleep, right? They wake up in the morning miserable. Yeah?
So is the young people, you don't see many young people, the demographic of the viewers of the 2-hour seminars, those aren't really the children. But you see, those are the ones who are in millions and millions watching the 4 or 5 minute nasihas, even when they maybe would not have gone to the masjid.
Right.
So that is a new group of people who maybe were not exposed to
low concentration spans.
Yeah, it is what it is. Social media is here to stay. And I think it is a duty that the scholars should harness and utilize this and adapt their methods of Islam. Dawah is one thing that there's no set specific way. It's
multiple platforms can be used. I'm gonna go to this sister here, inshallah, then I'm gonna go to you. Go ahead,
Yeah, but with my own admission of not going on social media very often at all, your idea of having smaller talks, Islamic talks or whatever,
reminders.
It doesn't seem to lessen their time on their phone, though, does it? So what are they doing with the other 1 hour, 55 minutes? And
small talks, but a lot of time on it,
The sister said about, the parents need to take responsibility of that. Well, they're not, are they? Because they're sitting in the front of trolleys on their parents' phone, aren't they? So nobody's taking responsibility, whether they're Muslim or not, about phone usage then, I guess,
which is another debate entirely. The whole impact of
Peppa Pig or whatever they're doing there. No, it is, like you said, it's here to stay. I think there needs to be a massive shift in how this is used.
Take your comment, then I'm coming to you, inshallah. Go ahead.
Yeah, just following on from that, I think it's really important for parents to know how social media works and what to do with their children in terms of when they go out to eat. I've seen in restaurants when that's good quality time for families, and they
even if they're sitting there, they're all on their phones.
Yeah,
right?
and they're just on their phones, or they keep their kids occupied by putting a cartoon on in the restaurant or even in the kitchen table at home just to keep them distracted because they're going to keep quiet. They don't see the adverse effects that's going to have on that child in terms of attention span, in terms of behavior. We've seen that a lot from children who are reading or who are playing outside or doing activities compared to those who are on their phone. They don't feel happy. So as soon as they're doing something, within a few minutes, they get bored. They want to sit down. They want to go back to their phone and watch whatever they were watching. They're literally engrossed in it so much. And I think it's not the parents' fault in a way because they never had to go through that before. So in my time, we didn't have smartphones when we grew up, right? So we wouldn't know what a smartphone was or what social media was. And then all of a sudden, it happened in such a short space of time where technology advanced, all social media came out and the kids are exposed to it and the parents just don't know what to do. So I think that comes not only on a scholarly level, but as a community level, we need to educate not only the kids in terms of how to use social media and being safe online, not only to scholars on how to give dawah online, but also to parents on how to manage it, not only for their children, but also for themselves. Because the other effect that we see is that parents who are looking after their kids, they're engrossed onto their phones. They're addicted to their phones.
Yeah,
If a child wants a bit of attention, and they'll be like, no, I'll speak to you in a minute. So there's a number of battles that we need to challenge, and we need to kind of liaise with different organizations, like the sister mentioned, NSPCC and whoever, in terms of the different topics that are taking place. And it's here to stay. In fact, it's going to get bigger.
Yeah, it's going to get bigger. Sister over there on the end, yes.
I think there's a few influences. And first thing is that for children, there was a time that my son, he was on the phones in the night time. And I saw that affected his the way that he was blinking a lot. So therefore, I had to take over and then stop that. But the thing is about being able to go toward learning about Islam or anything like that, or doing the things that are good for you. It's money matters as well. Those things, religion is not cheap thing. To be able to introduce that to the children, if you want them to do something, it's either like, okay, you can either watch it on this, or if you want to put them into like a course or this or that, it
costs.
Yeah, there's a huge cost for that, and so therefore people are trying to choose the easier option, which can also go, it can. There's a bit thin line between what there is and what there isn't about watching on social media and everything like that. But at the same time, the other side is that it helps as well. So you have to find like a balance.
Yeah.
As
I want to flag up the question. I'm not sure. I'm sure that the Muslim community is not immune from this problem, where you have people often exposing. They could be influencers. They could be just people with a high following, or they may not even be speaking. They may be simply taking pictures, particularly of couples when they think they're the best couple on the face of this planet, and they take these pictures, or they're the best cook available, or I got the best skin tone mixture, or I got the best six-pack available. Does it have an impact, do you feel, on the youth and in the people? Does it create this kind of false sense of everybody else has it so beautiful, but what about us? And particularly, I know this is very existed in the non-Muslim communities, but particularly, does this exist in the Muslims? Do they always think that everybody else has it better than me?
Yep.
And I'll take a sister's comments first on this one, then I'm going to come to you, inshallah. Ali, if you just give me a second. Yes.
I mean, I just want to say that, well, I don't have Instagram. I don't really follow social media, but
but you must know people who do, religiously.
I do, but I mean, like, I've heard of a lot of couple goals. I mean, on Instagram, and I don't know, they don't really portray their
reality.
So it's almost like putting on a front, portraying the positive sides to the beautiful couple, Whereas,
and so everybody thinks, oh, flipping it, I got it miserable, man. Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like I said, putting on a front, living the fake life. I don't know if I should even say that, but yeah.
Yeah. Which I think, sister, you have something to say? Yeah, inshallah. Coming to you, Ali, next, be ready.
It's just this living up to this strange type of perfection we've created, that we're the most perfect this, and we have perfect food, and we're organic, and we're vegan, and we dress in. It's subhanallah. Why don't you tell us the struggles that you're having? Like we saw, not to mention any demise of any Muslim YouTubers or characters that were out there. Something was exposed, and we saw the ugly side to something which we thought was supposed to be beautiful and happy.
But it has an impact on people.
The issue is that we have celebrity culture. So with these Instagrammers and these YouTubers, and I have YouTube, but that's as far as I go in terms of social media. But it leads to depression. It leads to all sorts of evil, and it's not real. So people are getting sad, very sad.
Some people's social interaction is only through social media for some people, and there's a generation coming up that their primary form of communication is social media. Ali Dawa, talk to us.
Like I was saying, we live in a time of we're just superficial. It's simple as that. And the thing is, we live in it. We want dreams. There's a demand. So it's like, if there's a demand, there's going to be someone that's going to supply that. So what's happening now is these couples, wallahi, sometimes you look at their lifestyle and you just think, subhanAllah, it's like, did they take this picture in Jannah? It's unbelievable, wallahi. Like, everything's so perfect. And if you think about it, like my personal lifestyle, has anyone ever seen me take a picture with my wife? Ever? Like, oh, we're on holiday. Look at us. Wow. Because it's a lie. Now, this doesn't mean we don't go on holiday. It doesn't mean we don't have fun. It's a lie. For me to go and take a second picture, us walking down and there's a beautiful island, you have no idea. Like, marriage is not this thing that's portrayed in Hollywood and Bollywood. People are living in a dream. And this is what happens, you know. And this is like, for example, my marriage documentary, which is 4 years delayed, which is going to come out very soon, inshallah. But it tackles this issue, and it's so deep that we have even delayed it, because I'm personally developing a app, something that's going to help single Muslims on the long run. Why? Because we want permanent solutions. And people are being told lies. Wallahi, it's all lies. You have no idea. Like the sister said, a couple that came out, wallahi, people making dua, oh Allah, make my marriage like that. Unbelievable. Can you imagine if Allah answered your dua?
There are people.
Oh Allah, give me a husband like her or him. And you have no idea, but this is what's happening in our society, and we need to combat that. It's an absolute lie. We have to be real with ourselves. Why doesn't these couples? I challenge them. Wallahi, I wanted to start a challenge. Yeah, tell us the times where you have arguments. Just make a post and say, you know what, we had a massive argument today. You know, she threw a ball at my head and I dodged it. Let's see you do that. Wallahi, let's see you do that. Then we can say, you know what, hold on a second. This is a good, actually. They show the good sides, but they also show the sides when you don't know. You don't even know if that sister or brother is being literally beaten up by the spouse. You know, I'll be honest, today sisters are beating up brothers, you know, it's happening.
It is happening.
So you don't know, and we're just dreaming. We're living in a dream mode, and it needs to be combated.
Yeah, I think this whole level of, you know, people used to have a very personal sense of living. That kind of thing's going out the window. People expose too much. Yeah. And they're only exposing the good parts, and then people think everybody's life is just good. Yeah, exactly. I have your comment at the end there, sister. Yeah.
Yeah, hi. Sorry.
Hi. That's it. Hi back.
Do you know what it is? Is that films, I mean, it all started from the film industry and how they're always portraying the best person, the way they look and everything. So when we've come to social media about us being in front of the camera ourselves, or if we've got a picture out there or anything like that, we start being self-aware. We want to look good. We want to. No one's going to portray their negative side anywhere, and that's the natural thing. You are actually putting your mirror in front of you all the time. So everything is going to be It's like a psychological thing. You will automatically want to show the best part of you. So that's gonna then be negative for people who are going to be viewing it, because they will want to also be like, oh,
thinking that's the only way.
Why is my life like that? And
all of these changes, okay, we said it's not going to go, right? Mobile phones are only going to increase. They're going to get faster. They're going to get bigger in capacity. They'll probably get smaller physically, but in capacity, they're going to get bigger. You're going to be able to keep more stuff in your palm. You're going to be able to do more stuff from your palm. My issue here is, how do we embrace this? Whether it's the 5G, Corona, whatever you want to blame it on, what? How far is this going to go? Are we just going to go on the bandwagon? Yeah, we squeeze in a bit of Islam, etc., do as much as we can using the platform. How are we going to embrace this? How are we going to embrace these changes that are taking place with technology, particularly social media? Sister here, and then I'll take the sister there, and then I'll have you on the end, please. Yeah.
What I think is the way social media came in, it sort of exploded into everyone's home. So everyone just sort of had this trial and error concept with how to deal with it, whether you're just completely removing it from your house or everyone's got a phone in, they're locked in the way in their room. For me, I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. So I've constantly just thinking, how am I going to deal with it? What am I going to do?
Does your 5-year-old go on the mobile?
No.
Does he or she swipe well?
No, we're very, mashallah.
Okay.
No. Okay. They don't.
Because I've seen 2-year-olds swiping away, man. They can't say a word in English, man, but they know how to use a mobile phone.
Yeah. But for me, because I don't see like an actual guideline right now, I'm just going to go back to how it was before. There needs to be one main computer in the house.
Which is a big screen that everybody can see.
That faces the whole family. There's no alone time with devices. Yeah. And that's how it worked. It worked before. So.
Yeah. Okay. Inshallah, I wish you the best, because it's only going to get more difficult. Yes, sister, yeah.
I'd just like to say the reason they don't put their arguments out there is they're too busy on the phone, not speaking to each other.
Well, and that's why it's a good thing, isn't it? No arguments.
And the other thing is you're going on, we all have to embrace it. We all have to embrace it. I'm still going to fight it. I'm not embracing it. I do now have to email for work. But that's
about it, yeah.
I can do it now, yay. But no, I'm not going to embrace it. I will, a tiny few things that perhaps my own children show me, but there's no use for it for me.
Gentlemen on the end there, please, yeah.
For children, I'll say social media has to be restricted and supervised. And the research clearly shows those who are using more than 4 hours or 5 hours per day are suffering from mental disease. Especially the girls are suffering mental disease than boys. And this is proven research. And for the adult, I'll say social media is kind of education and arts. It is an art. You don't have to be a big scholar. So with a shallow knowledge or no knowledge of Islam, you can attract many followers in social media. So in that respect, you can't bring all the good scholars in social media. Maybe you can, some of them. So social media will never, ever replace the scholars. You can do research and PhD based on social media, on research. But if you want to really learn Islam, you need physical contact with the scholars.
That's where the connection is going to be. No problem. Comment today? We've got 2 more minutes left. Any final comments people want to draw on this topic? Yeah.
Yeah, just on that we're focusing a lot on terms of the younger generation and maybe parents, but even the older generation, some of them are getting addicted to social media, right? Sometimes they're prone to sending a number of messages during the day, lots of fake news traveling around. That anything that comes to them, they think is real news, and they feel like they have to forward it on. So that's another challenge that we have to face, that we need to do workshops for the elders in regards to how to use social media.
Mr. Trump told us about fake news, didn't he? So
it's just one of those things, and I think fake news again is having a huge impact, spreading wrong information, and information goes out really quickly now. So that's what a lot of influencers and platforms have to be strict on, verifying where they're getting the information from.
Thank you very much, Charlie. Yeah, brother, comment from you quickly. Charlie, we've got about a minute left. Anybody else wants to add in anything from the sisters?
Yeah, one last thing I did notice a lot is that, okay, even though social media gets bashed a lot, there is definitely some benefit there that we can see, is that especially a lot of the youth, they find it safe and approachable to contact scholars there in an anonymous fashion and ask their hard-pressing questions that they may not feel, let's say, comfortable or safe or welcomed into a masjid to directly contact with the scholars in their local area.
Last comment from over there at the back, inshallah. Yep, go ahead.
Just a quick point, I know you just got a minute, is that with regards to this, coming back to the original question, looking at influencers, 2 types, in my opinion. You've got the ones who are knowledgeable, du'at, and then we've got those who have no
idea, but I just want the numbers.
So my advice is not to take knowledge from the latter.
Yeah.
And also when it comes to subhanAllah, when it comes to our social media, our usage and stuff like that, we have to realize that this is the great fitna and try to reduce.
Who thinks that the good outweighs the bad for social media? Who thinks the good outweighs the bad? Put your hand up. The good outweighs the bad. No. Okay. Who thinks social media, the bad outweighs the good? There you have it, folks. The choice is yours. Take care. Thanks for watching this program. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum.